There are players whose careers are remembered through numbers. There are players remembered through championships. And then there are players who seem to represent an entire baseball team, an entire city, and an entire moment in time. Thurman Munson was one of those players. He spent 11 seasons in pinstripes, and after arriving as a late season call up in 1969, became the Yankees' defining catcher of the 1970s, indeed, maybe their defining baseball player. And if you wanted to understand those Yankees, you had to understand Thurman Munson. He was not polished. He was not especially interested in looking graceful. He played catcher the way a construction worker might approach a difficult job. He put on the equipment. He got behind the plate. He took the hits. He threw somebody out. He got his 4 at-bats, and he did it again the next day. Munson was born in Akron, Ohio, and grew up in nearby Canton, where the Pro Football Hall of Fame is, before playing at Kent State University, where he developed into one of the best catching prospects in the country. The Yankees selected him with the 4th pick of the 1968 draft. He did not stay in the minor leagues long. By August of 1969, Thurman Munson was in Yankee Stadium. By 1970, the Yankees had their catcher. Munson hit .302 in his first full season and was named American League Rookie of the Year. It was the beginning of one of the great catching careers of his era. Munson could hit, he could throw, he could block the plate, and perhaps most importantly, he could endure. Catching in the 1970s was an unforgiving occupation. There were collisions at home plate. There was little protection compared with today, and Munson played with the physical style of someone who seemed almost offended by the idea of giving ground. That personality fit perfectly with the Yankees. He became an all-star, then a Gold Glove catcher, then one of the best hitters at his position, and he developed one of baseball's defining rivalries with another great catcher, Carlton Fisk of the Boston Red Sox. Munson and Fisk represented opposing sides of the Yankees-Red Sox baseball rivalry. Their rivalry was physical, it was personal, and in August of 1973 at Fenway Park, it became literal. Munson tried to score. Fisk was waiting at the plate. They collided. They became tangled together. The benches emptied. For anyone trying to understand Yankees-Red Sox baseball in the 1970s, that moment tells you almost everything. Munson did not merely play in this rivalry, he embodied it. By the middle of the decade, the Yankees were becoming contenders again, and Munson was becoming their leader. In 1975, he hit a career-best .318. Then came 1976. Early in the 1976 season, Thurman Munson was named captain of the New York Yankees. That mattered. The Yankees had not had a team captain since Lou Gehrig. Munson was stepping into one of the most important symbolic roles in baseball, and then he produced the season to justify it. He hit .302, drove in 105 runs, and was named the American League Most Valuable Player. More importantly, he helped bring the Yankees back to the World Series for the first time since 1964. The Yankees were swept by Cincinnati's Big Red Machine and Johnny Bench, but Munson was magnificent. He hit .529 in that World Series. In the final game, he went 4 for 4. The Yankees had lost, but their captain had established something. They were back. The following season, they finished their job. The 1977 Yankees were talented, combustible, argumentative, famous, and difficult. Billy Martin, George Steinbrenner, Reggie Jackson, Thurman Munson. It could sometimes seem as though the Yankees were fighting one another almost as often as they were fighting their opponents. Munson and Jackson famously clashed after Jackson described himself as the straw that stirred the drink. Munson did not appreciate it, but underneath the conflict was something important. Both men desperately wanted to win, and eventually they came to recognize what the other contributed. The Yankees reached the World Series again. This time they beat the Los Angeles Dodgers. Thurman Munson was a world champion. 1 year later, the Yankees did it again, and Munson delivered one of the great swings of his career during the 1978 American League Championship Series against Kansas City. The Yankees were trailing in the 8th inning of Game 3 when Munson launched a 2-run home run off Doug Bird into the left center field bullpen at Yankee Stadium. It was the kind of home run that did not seem to belong to a catcher built like Thurman Munson. The Yankees won that game. They won the pennant. Then they beat the Dodgers again in the World Series. And when Ron Say lifted a foul pop for the final out, it was Thurman Munson who caught it. Think about the arc. Rookie of the Year, Gold Gloves, All-Star Games, American League MVP, Captain of the New York Yankees, 3 consecutive pennants, 2 consecutive World Series championships. And through all of it, Munson remained unmistakably Munson. Squat, tough, bruised, competitive, never particularly interested in performing the role of superstar. He simply played, and when October arrived, he became even better. Munson was one of the finest postseason hitters of his generation. The bigger the game became, the more comfortable he seemed to become inside it. By 1979, though catching was beginning to leave its marks, Munson was only 32 years of age, but he had already absorbed years of punishment behind the plate. He had talked about eventually playing closer to his family in Ohio. He had even considered what life after baseball might look like. On August 1st, 1979, Munson appeared in what would become the final game of his career. He was still the captain of the New York Yankees. The next day, Munson died while practicing landings in his private airplane near Canton, Ohio. The shock inside baseball was enormous, but nowhere was it felt more deeply than Yankee Stadium. The Yankees retired number 15. His locker at the old Yankee Stadium was left unused as a memorial. His plaque went into Monument Park, and his presence became permanently attached to the Yankee teams of that era. That is why Thurman Munson cannot really be understood by looking at a career line, a .292 batting average, 7 All-Star selections, 3 Gold Gloves, an MVP, 2 World Series championships. Those tell you how good he was. They do not completely tell you what he was. Thurman Munson was the catcher when the Yankees became great again, when they became the Yankees again. He arrived when the franchise was struggling. He became its captain. And when the Yankees returned to October, he was behind the plate, catching the biggest pitches, taking the collisions, fighting through the punishment, and leading a complicated, volatile, immensely talented baseball team back to the top of the sport. For a generation of Yankee fans, number 15 was not simply their catcher. He was their captain. He should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm Mr. Baseball, and this has been Players, a Smell Baseball podcast.